Okay, so we are on the next stage of the skull drawing. This is our second stage. At this point, you should have handed in your drawing with the proportion box as well as the envelope. Before we get started, I just want to give you guys a little quick suggestion for those of you that have purchased your proportional dividers through your studio fee. Some of them may be real loose, like flopping all around and hard to keep the same measurement from one to the next. I'm going to show you a little trick, but you got to be careful. On your proportional divider, hopefully I can do this on the camera well, there's this little piece, right? And there's these little rubber washers on the inside. There is one rubber washer on your proportional divider. You do have spare parts. If you take and carefully slip that second washer on, then put that in. I like to put it all the way at the end here. Now this is the part where it's tough. You got to be very careful when I'm trying to get this on camera, when you're pushing this up and then sliding that peg over that. It's very tight. You don't want to push hard to the point where it's going to crack it, because if you break it, I don't replace it. So you can leave it, or if you want to make it a little tighter, here, mine's nice and tight. See how it doesn't even move even when I shake it around? It's nice and tight, so going from one measurement to the other stays a little bit more stable and correct. So you could put that second washer on if you want. You don't have to, but if you do, make sure you're careful not to crack it, okay? Okay, so we have our envelope, we have our proportion box. Now we're gonna start to break down some of the other components of the skull. You wanna remember, we're looking at big shapes. We're looking at big shapes here. We wanna go general to specific, big to little, etc. Big shapes. So, we're gonna draw, I think it's either 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that. It's maybe 7 lines today, a total of only 7 lines. But you're gonna start to see the structure of this skull come out. The first one we're gonna start with is a very big line in a very big shape. Well, not shape, but a very big line. And we're gonna go for this jawbone right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna line our ruler up. Obviously it's curved, but we're gonna kind of try to go right through there and through the edge here. And we're gonna draw a construction line. Boom. Now, remember, we're going to draw a line here and then transfer those measurements over and draw the line on our drawing. There's our first one. And I'm gonna go from this side over for our second. Remember, your proportion box needs to be accurate. If you have an inaccurate proportion box, your drawing will be inaccurate. Now, we're gonna connect these 2 dots. You should be drawing lightly because we know that some of this is gonna get erased. We don't know how much yet. And we know that this down here is gonna get erased. So we have that jawline. I know that at the bottom here, I no longer need this part of the line. So right away, I'm going to erase that immediately. I'm not gonna wait. If I know I don't need a part, I wanna eliminate that part as soon as possible. Remember, you're drawing lightly. I'm drawing dark so you can see it, but you're drawing lightly. So when you erase, it goes away. So there's that jawline. Next, we're going to look at this big shape here. That's a pretty big shape, right in the middle of the skull. So we're gonna draw that. Now we're gonna keep things simple. Remember, we're keeping things simple. We're gonna take a construction line and go right through the bottom of this part of this cheekbone, through the bottom of this part of the cheekbone, all the way through. Line my ruler up. Draw my construction line. This should all be very repetitive at this point. That's why at the beginning of the year I said that I can draw anything in the world that you want me to draw, given enough time, because it's as simple as knowing a process, and that's what you're learning is this process. There we go. Now, here's something interesting. When I look, I know that from here over, I don't need it anymore. From here over, I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go right in and erase that. Interestingly enough, I know now that from here up, I no longer need that. From here up. So I'm going to erase that. There we go. Cool. Now we're going to work on the top of this, right through here. We are cutting certain parts of this off, and that's okay. These lines are for a guide. There's one. There's the second, connecting. There we go. Now here we go again. Interestingly enough, I know that from here over, I don't need it. So I erase it. We keep things nice and clean and organized as we go. Okay, now I'm going to draw a line up this direction so I can get that part of it. This one's a little more complicated because we have to do some ins and outs. I'm going to go from the bottom of that curve to the bottom of that curve. There we go. Again, measuring it out. See how these two actually turned out to be in the same spot right there. All right, now we go up. Now here we go again. Let's find some spots where we know we don't need this line anymore. We know that it stops here. So we'll erase everything underneath that. And we don't know exactly where it stops up here, but we know that it doesn't go way up past the head there, so I can erase this part. Keeping our paper as clean as possible as we progress. So the next part we're going to do 3 more quick lines. So far we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's it. 4 lines so far. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. We're going to do 3 more. So a total of 7 lines. The next part we're going to do is this back part of the head. So let's start with our longest line that goes across here. We want to go through the bottom of this, through the bottom of the skull, yeah, that's how we'll do it. Through there, through the bottom of the skull, and all the way across. We do cut a little part of that off, but that's okay. Keeping it general. There's our first one. I know I don't need the line past this one, so I'm going to get rid of all those parts. Here's something interesting. Now I know here I don't need this part of this line anymore out of that jaw. I could have erased that before. And then I can progress. Next, I'm going to draw a line up this edge. Remember when we did that half circle drawing? This is where that comes into play. Construction line there. In there. Almost there. There we go. Again, erasing the parts that I don't need. And then I have one more to draw. Right through the bottom here. This part of that head there. It connects right to the proportion box there, so that's kind of nice. And then right along that edge to the bottom. We'll mark that out. Going all the way up. I'll connect this. And there we go. There's that curve. Now, I'm going to go through, double check, and make sure I erase all these parts that I don't need. I'm not going to round that out yet. I'm still going to keep it straight lines. Not rounding it out, still keeping it straight lines, but I can see where that curves. And the next thing I want to do before I finish this stage is I want to clean up. Unfortunately, I have to draw so dark, but I want to clean up. If you start to erase dots and you erase part of your proportion box, make sure you redraw it back in. Try and erase really well. One thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to rip your paper. So hold your paper stable with one hand and erase with the other. Keep pushing this easel a little further away. And then that's what we have for today. 7 lines, not too difficult. If you ever heard somebody say, I can't even draw anything with a straight line, well, here you go. These are all straight lines and we're drawing it. So that's the second step.